Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Hey, everybody. It is me, Tamika Walker Kelly, your favorite music teacher and president of the North Carolina Association of Educators. And I want to welcome you back to season 2 of Tuesdays with Tamika, where we talk about all things of public education. And so I am joined by, I'm going to go ahead and bring them up, two of our esteemed NCAE family members. So let me go ahead and bring them up and add them to our screen. We have John Wilson, our interim executive director for NCAE, and we have the always insightful Marge Foreman, our research specialist and chief lobbyist for NCAE. She has been with us for 36 years. 26, Marge?
36.
36 years. All right. So thank you so much for joining me here on Tuesdays with Tamika. Both of you, please say hello to our viewing audience.
Hi, NCAE family.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here.
All right. I'm so excited that we get to kick off our new season with the both of you. So thank you so much for being on with us tonight. Now, the reason why we have you here is because you both have so much history with NCAE as an organization. But today we are going to talk about what is happening right now on Jones Street at the General Assembly. And you are both well versed in all things government relations and the lobbying process. And so we want to talk to you tonight about what we should be expecting during this legislative session. So that is going to be a great conversation. Now, before we jump into this conversation with Marge and John, let me just give you a little bit of background information to our NCAE family and to our general public just watching us tonight. So here in North Carolina, our General Assembly, what we sometimes refer to in shorthand as the NCGA, they create budgets on a biennium basis, meaning that the budget is written in 2-year spans. And since we are in an odd number year, hello to 2021, this is the year that legislators meet in the long session, which means that they create the budget for the next 2 fiscal years. And in the even number years, goodbye to 2020, it is the short session years. And the existing budget is simply adjusted, not recreated. Although, y'all know we did not have a budget in 2020. So, of course, lots of other items are up for consideration other than just the budget. So we're going to first begin with John. So we'll start with you, John. We held a press conference last week and we released our NCAE legislative agenda, our priorities for this year. So what do you think are some of the most important issues we are likely to see during this legislative session?
Well, thank you, Tamika. The one thing our viewers should know is that NCAA has a very comprehensive and long agenda. So we try to anticipate about every issue that will come up. And if we can get a win for our members, we go for it. We obviously believe that salary is going to be a hot topic this year because we're going to make it a hot topic this year. And we'll start with $15 an hour for our ESP members. As many of you know, the legislature granted state employees a $15 minimum wage, but not school employees. And we hope to get a lot of traction on this. Obviously, a hot topic at the national level, and maybe the federal government will help us get there because they're considering that also. As you may know, our minimum wage is tied to the federal government at $7.25. Now, that's pretty pitiful, isn't it? So we're hoping that they'll take bold action. And whether they do or not, we're hoping to take bold action. And we're hoping that our local county commissioners and school boards do that. So $15 an hour for all of our ESP is really high on our list. As we look at compensation for our teachers and certified staff, We're looking at restoring the master's degree, and we think we have some new supporters of that to make it a bipartisan issue. And maybe they'll really read the research this time and understand that it is important to get a master's degree. We hope to restore longevity that was taken away and yet kept for state employees. So that's an equity issue for us. And of course, we want a cost of living. Now, one thing we know is the governor is probably most people have read is going to try to have a supplemental proposal with bonuses, $2,500 for teachers, administrators, $1,500 for ESP, $2,000 for community college and university employees. So we're hoping that will come early in the session so we can really concentrate on that permanent cost of living raises at the end. For our retirees, their raises depends on how the retirement system is doing. And lucky for us, interest rates have been good in the retirement system, and we know they should at least give a raise the second year of the biennium. And of course, we'll be pushing for one the first. Another item that we're trying to get back is the restoration of the health benefit for new people entering the profession. And so that's a big issue for recruitment. And even though it really doesn't impact anyone for about 30 years when they retire, it impacts right now for how you recruit people to the profession. Hoping to get more school psychologists. During COVID, we obviously need more school nurses, need more guidance counselors. And so we're pushing those all the time, whether it be in money directed for COVID-19 or whether it just be in the regular budget. Our kids deserve that kind of support system, wraparound services, and we think that's important. And I'll also say that NCAE has been a strong voice for expanding Medicaid. We're one of the few states that doesn't allow that. Too many of our children and their families go without health insurance. And can you imagine not having health insurance with the pandemic that we're in the middle of right now? So we're a strong voice for that, unapologetically. We stand with the governor on this issue, and we just hope that people will come to their senses and understand this is a benefit North Carolinians can have with very little cost to North Carolina. And so, and I'm sure at the congressional level, there'll be a lot of conversation about health benefits also. So we're hoping that will work out. So those are the kinds of things that we prioritized for this year, but we'll be looking after the interest every day they're in session. We're in session too. Thanks, Tamika.
Thank you so much for highlighting those things, John, like our school counselors and our school nurses and school psychologists, all the way to making sure that our ESPs, our education support professionals, get the $15 minimum at least, right, that they deserve. And just wanted to let you know the legislative priorities came from you, our NCAE members, because we surveyed you all and asked you what should our top priorities be. And like John said, we have a comprehensive legislative agenda that you can always view at ncae.org. So now, Marge, I'm going to come to you as our eyes in the ears in the General Assembly. I know you were incredibly busy last week because a flurry of things were taking place, starting in the Senate. So can you give us a quick recap of some of the important bills that saw action last week?
Thank you, Tamika. Glad to be here. Last week, Senate Bill 37, which is the reopening of schools bill, was filed, and then it moved very, very quickly. It went to Senate Education, and from Senate Education to the Senate Rules, and then to the floor. And on the floor, there was 4 Senate Democrats who did try to amend the bill to address some of the issues. And I know all of you are familiar with the concerns that we have around the IEP issue, around no prioritizing teachers getting the vaccine, as well as mandating that all students be given the option that they could come in person, or the parents could still choose to have them stay at home and have remote learning. But a lot of those issues are still concerns in the bill. The bill did pass the Senate today. along party lines. There were still the two yes votes, and it was sent to the House by special messenger. The House has already calendared that bill, pending that it did pass the Senate today. It will be in House Education tomorrow morning at 9:30, and then when the House goes into session at 3, when they adjourn from session, the House Rules will take the bill up, and more than likely they may just recess in House session, and after the bill is heard and debated in rules, come back to session and debate the bill and possibly have amendments done on the floor tomorrow. And if there's objections, they could pass it on third reading. And so it's being fast tracked to get to the governor this week. And so I anticipate that by Thursday of this week, that bill will be in the governor's hand. And so he'll have 10 days to sign it into law, let it become law, or veto it. So that's the highlights about Senate Bill 37. And of course, we have serious concerns, and I know all of you know a lot of the action that the NCAA has taken in regards to that. The next bill that took place last week was a good bill. It was Senate Bill 36, which was the modifications of the COVID relief funds that were appropriated during the 2020 session when they were here in September of last year. And basically, the bill is a technical corrections bill. Half of the bill just extends dates and timelines, dates that they have now until December 31 of 2021 to use up some of the funds, like the funds for the school nutrition program, for PPEs and resources. They have funding that they had appropriated for counselors, nurses, psychologists, whatever's left that they didn't spend instead of it being lost December 31 of 2020. Now those funds will be allowed to be extended until 2021. There were 3 new pieces of appropriations that they did add to the bill. They put $1.6 billion in the bill for the reopening of schools. They put some additional money in for the vaccine distribution, and then they put about $39 million in for the Great Grants program that does help expand broadband in some of the rural counties as a matching program. So that was a good bill. It went to the governor. I think he's already signed it into law. I'm not 100% sure, but I know they sent that to him last week. Those were the 2 bills that really happened last week. Of course, there are a couple other bills I'll just mention quickly. There are 3 retiree bills. 2 of them deal with the Bailey vesting, Senate Bill 4, Senate Bill 12, and House Bill 52. There are 2 ESP bills. Representative Terrence Everett from Wake County, he introduced Senate Bill 2 that would give them the $15 an hour immediately. And Senator Don Davis filed Senate Bill 19 that would study that issue. And the end of last week, Senate Bill 59, which is restoring the master's pay, was filed in the Senate by 3 Republicans: Senator Danny Britt from Robeson County, Senator Sawyer, and Senator Perry. So they have the 3 primary sponsors on that bill. And basically, that bill it gives master's pay if you work in the area that you have your master's for at least 70% or more of the time. And for details, I can share that later. And then there was, of course, House Bill 32 that came out week before last that deals with the vouchers. They're reforming the whole voucher program, and we'll be sharing more details about that. But it basically expands the voucher program and makes a lot of other modifications, things that we really have serious concerns about. And there are a list of other bills that we will continue to monitor and report to you in Ed Insight.
Thank you so much, Marge, and for giving us a rundown of some of the key bills that we should be keeping our eye on. Now, we all know, of course, we wanted to thank our North Carolina senators who voted against Senate Bill 37 because we know it does not do enough for safety for students and educators. And we have real concerns about the local control component of the bill. Senate Bill 36, though, with the COVID relief, is one of the things that we highly stressed in our cover letter when we sent our legislative agenda to every single elected official in the General Assembly. So if you ever want to contact your representative and ask them what sort of action they are taking on the NCAE legislative priorities, we sent everybody a copy so they have it. And that is a whole lot of things, Mars, that you shared with us, and shows us that we clearly have a lot of work to do, not only this week, but in the coming weeks as well. So, John, I have a question for you. I know you've been in politics in North Carolina for a long time now. We like to call you the OG. So, how would you categorize the level of discourse around public education compared to years past?
Well, we know that every politician wants to be considered pro-education, but we always said they're not pro-education until we say they're pro-education. And so, we live in very partisan times, and I think we work very hard to identify a bipartisan effort on behalf of the legislation that we propose and we work for. One of the things that gets in the way of that is the vouchers, because we think vouchers really undermine public education and could end up destroying that. We also know that during COVID times, we've had more kids go to options that aren't within the public school system. And after COVID, we're going to have to get a lot of those students back and make sure their families are supportive of our public schools, because that's just a cornerstone of our democracy. And if we really want to have a strong democracy, we have to have strong public schools. So I think while things tend to be very partisan, we do know that there are individuals in the legislature, particularly Republicans, who have been on school boards, who have family members that are public school employees, and they have a sense of heart for public schools, and we just have to work closely with them and make sure that we can get their support, bill by bill, and hopefully dissuade them from undermining public schools with more support for vouchers, because we're trying to get a moratorium on that.
Thank you for laying that out, John. And we just want to say a huge thank you to all of our NCAE members, our community allies, our parents who are also community allies, and to some of our biggest fans who show up in all of our favorite NCAE spaces. We just really appreciate all of the wonderful and supportive comments that you give us. And you're right. Even though we are living in hyper-partisan times, our agenda as NCAE has always been student-centered, because we believe that every student should have a great public school. Now, Marge, I know that the GR department does an in-depth summary of what happens at the General Assembly every Friday. Can you talk a little bit about the Education Insight newsletter and how folks can stay up to date about what's happening in the General Assembly?
Thank you, Tamika. Yes, we do the Education Insight. It comes out Friday afternoons, and Kevin and I do it together. He does all of the writing, and of course, I will tell him what the topics and the issues are, and how things have happened that week, the prior week, during the week. But basically, we start out trying to give an overview of what went on that week, and then we get into specific key bills. We don't, discuss every bill, but we would summarize what the bill, what happened with the bill, what the bill status is, where it is sitting now, or where it may be heading, and give them some of the key points of how the discussion went, or debate went, when the bill was being debated on the floor or either in a committee. And so we do that on key bills, as I said. And then we also will include happenings that may have happened at the state board. If people notice, there was information about the social studies vote and the discussion of the issues that went on with that at the state board level. So we try to highlight things that we know members would be interested, that does pertain to our members. And then, of course, we will include at the bottom of the bill of the Education Insight other bills of interest. And they could be bills that dealing with opioid overdose. There's an immigration bill, reform bill that's out there. There's a bill to give money for the food bank of Eastern North Carolina. There was a bill that looks at, some of the learning loss due to the pandemic, which gives some flexibility to certain school districts, and a host of other bills that we feel are of interest to our members. And so we would encourage people to look at that every week. And if you're not getting it, it's because we don't have a personal email address for you. And so if you would send your personal email address you can send it to Kevin or I, or to Annette Montgomery, our administrative assistant, and her email address is annette.montgomery@ncae.org. But we would encourage members to look at it. We try to hyperlink the bill, so if you want to read the full bill, you can go there and see it. We just don't go into all of the details of what's going on in the bill, but give you the key pieces of the bill that would impact you personally and your work environment, as well as things that we know are wrong or bad in the bill and that we're trying to fix. And we may even have an action item that we would need you to do for the next week. And we try to also talk about bills that are coming up for the following week for floor votes, or maybe a committee assignment that the bill has been sent to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marge. So you heard Marge. She said that if you are an NCAE member and you are not receiving the education insight, then you are missing out. And you can reach out to Annette Montgomery at annette.montgomery@ncae.org to make sure you get your personal email signed up so that you can get that newsletter on Friday. So before we wrap up today's session of Tuesdays with Tamika, I just want to say thank you so much to both John and Marge for giving their time and expertise tonight to break down some critical information that you need to know as the legislative session begins. And thank you both so much for your hard work in fighting for public education. So thank y'all so much. And before we close out tonight, I just want to give you a couple of reminders, right? So one, tomorrow is not just Wednesday. Tomorrow is Red for Ed Wednesday. So please make sure that you throw on your Red for Public Ed and snap your picture so we can see that virtually in our space. Also, we are moving our NCAE petition to call on Governor Cooper to make sure that we can get our educators vaccinated. Our petition has over 21,000 signatures of educators, members, parents, community members, and community allies who believe that educators should be prioritized for vaccination, back to where we were at the beginning, right? To make sure that we can continue to have more in-person instruction safely, because we know that learning is still happening, educators are still teaching, and our educators want to go back to the buildings, more of them, face to face. They just want to be able to do so safely. So remember that as well. All right, so that is a wrap for our first episode of season 2 of Tuesdays with Tamika. I am so glad that you joined us on the Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitter. And if you have a topic that you want to talk about that is happening during this legislative session, you can check out the ticker right at the bottom of your screen that lets you know you can email us at tuesdayswithtamika@ncae.org, and we will consider all of those topics as we build out our season. And last thing, our series will be monthly this time, so you will catch us again on March the 9th, Tuesday, March 9th, at 6 o'clock. And we will do periodic updates here and there, but we are doing it monthly because this is the long session, as we talked about. So we are going to be working all the way up into budget time talks in June, so we'll be around for quite a while. So again, thank you so much for watching us tonight. If your friends missed out, no worries, just share the link with them so they can catch the replay, and we will see you guys next month on Tuesdays with Tamika. Bye.